All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Thank you all. Oh, my gosh. The 2025 recorded audience may be one I miss the most. We'll have to see how the 2026 recorded audience does. Great to be with everyone who has decided to join us. We are a live show. That's right. You can listen or watch whenever. Most people don't watch it live. But in fact, I have evidence that Kim doesn't even watch it live, and she's on the goddamn show.
What?
I don't even know how it happens, but I'm just saying she's in and out. Albert, same story, and even Tony is in and out. I feel like I'm the only one, and even I am in and out. So it's like it's a weird situation in which
I blame you.
Yeah, it's probably my fault on some level. Most things are my fault. So we are ending this 2025 the way we began it, by blaming each other with the rancor, with the anger, with the grievance that started this year, with the...
I blame you.
Yeah, thank you.
I blame you.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
All right. Well, I am excited about this last show. We are live. As I say, a lot of shows go to recorded stuff or, you know.
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
I'll be answering all questions today. If you have them, please enter them into the chat. Many people are watching us live who are with us year-round, who are with us all the time. I'm trying to make myself look halfway presentable here. It's crazy. We've got a bunch of stuff for you today. John Rothmann joins us bottom of the hour, the scholar, the lecturer, the genius. We'll take a look at that Netanyahu-Trump press conference. This is less about Israel, the presser, at least the parts I'm going to show you, and more about Trump kind of just riffing about the world. I've talked to you before about the fact that, you know, presidents historically, like in the last term generally of their administration, they like to mess with international affairs because they can do it without a lot of congressional buy-in. But this guy, right out of the chute, you know, the Mad King couldn't wait to get onto the international stage. And as it turns out, you don't have to worry about congressional buy-in at all. With this administration, they'll let him run amok. I'll remind you that 2025 started with this massive pardon of all the J6ers, all of them, the ones who were beating officers there to protect the Capitol within an inch of their lives, and the ones who were just there and got swept up in the merriment of overthrowing a government. They were all pardoned. And then on to smack-talking Mexico, smack-talking Canada, beginning legitimate trade wars with both, and with the rest of the world. And we are reaping, sadly, the true trouble that you get into when you begin a trade war out of nowhere with an ally. I mean, the Canadian border, you've heard it before, the largest undefended, you know, border in the world. And, you know, these are our friends in Canada. And we have a intricate interdependence on Canadian aluminum and other goods that come across the border to build everything from automobiles to defense weaponry. And guess what? That whole thing has been turned on its side because the Mad King just started with this reflexive 51st state and smack-talking Canada. But it was more than just rhetoric. He actually put into effect trade restrictions and tariffs that are having a dramatic and poisonous effect on America. And we're going to be living this in other ways as well. I just mentioned Canada because it's such a weird one. Like,
Well,
why would you become
interestingly-
president and just open fire on your best friend?
I know. Even if I lived right next door to you, and if I didn't like you, I'd still be nice to you because you know why? You lived right next door. Patricia is
Yeah.
from Canada and says Happy New Year from Canada. Stay strong.
We love you, Canada. We love you.
Mm.
Pay no attention to our Mad King. By the way, I'll get into there are a couple of things that I'll get in just because I'm on the Mad King. Donald Trump issuing his first vetoes of his second term.
What?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
He declined to sign into law bills that Congress passed with bipartisan support.
Why does he need to veto anything if he has control of Congress?
Well, this is a Congress that served up to him bills that had buy-in from both parties. So control of Congress, yes, but also you had Democrats buying into this, and this legislation, I'll just run it down quickly for you. These two bills passed Congress, as I say, with bipartisan support. One was a pipeline measure, and it would include more land for the Masuki tribe in Florida. These are two different things. One is a pipeline, and one is a piece of legislation that would include more land for this tribe in Florida. So the pipeline bill is known as the Finish the Arkansas Valley Conduit Act. It rolls right off the tongue. It passed both the House and Senate by voice vote, which means it has overwhelming bipartisan support, right? And this legislation supposedly is aimed to facilitate completing a pipeline project to bring clean water to southeastern Colorado. Of course, we are not big on clean water, air, or soil anymore in this country. If you're just looking in, we always like to brag about our stuff being best, but really not big on environmental stuff. We're not big on cleaning up water, air, or soil, as I say. But anyway, on to the legislation quickly. So in a letter to the House announcing the veto, Trump pointed to the history of the pipeline construction, saying that it dragged on for too long and had cost too much money. Enough is enough, Trump wrote. My administration is committed to preventing American taxpayers from funding expensive and unreliable policies. Ending the massive cost of taxpayer handouts and restoring fiscal sanity is vital to economic growth and the fiscal health of the nation. Lauren Boebert, who you'll recall is a Republican and a Trumpy, responded to this on social media, writing, "This isn't over."
She was behind the bill.
Yeah, exactly. And she was the sponsor. So I love the statement, by the way, from Trump, which is the administration is committed to preventing American taxpayers from funding, ending the massive cost of taxpayer handouts. And really? Yeah. Meantime, you're taking $230 million of taxpayer money because of your grievance about being chased in the witch hunt of the legal system while you were out of office. That's just one of the things you're doing. So, again, there could be an overturn of this veto. John Hickenlooper, who is the senator from Colorado, he is saying that Trump is playing, quote, partisan games and punishing Colorado by making rural communities suffer without clean drinking water.
Yeah.
So he's encouraging the overturn.
So Lauren Boebert said she hopes that this veto isn't retaliation for her voting on the discharge position on the Epstein files.
Oh.
She said the bill was non-controversial, and she said she really hopes that this whole veto thing has nothing to do with political retaliation. Her quote is, "I must have missed the rally where he stood in Colorado," meaning Trump, "and promised to personally derail critical water infrastructure projects. My bad. I thought the campaign was about lowering costs and cutting red tape." Another crack in MAGA, Mark.
Yeah, Lauren Boebert is realizing, this guy is all about recrimination and revenge. And probably for that vote, at least that had to go into the calculus at some point. The other bill that Trump vetoed is that Miccosukee reserved area Amendments Act. It would expand this Miccosukee reserved area in Florida to include part of the Everglades National Park. It also passed Congress by a voice vote, so again, it reflects, overwhelming support. And it was supported again by Congressman Carlos Jimenez, a Republican in Florida. And in this letter explaining the veto, Trump accused the tribe of seeking to obstruct, this is a quote, reasonable immigration policies that the American people decisively voted for when I was elected. Trump vetoed 10 bills during his first term. Only one of the vetoes was overridden by Congress. So, I'll tell you, one of the bills that came 2 years into his term on a Senate joint resolution, they voted to terminate a national emergency that he declared on the southern border. And you can imagine he vetoed that. So that's the story on Trump busily vetoing on the final week of this 2025 year, this legislation that was bipartisan. So I also wanted to mention
Thompson Show.
I am saddened this day, Kim. I'm saddened when
the last
a young
day of
couple.
2025?
What's that? Yeah.
It's
Well,
the last day of the year, and you feel sad.
I'll tell you why.
Mm.
And I think when I tell you why, you're gonna get it.
I'm not gonna cry.
Yeah. Well, Mel Gibson and his wife are breaking up.
What?
Yeah.
I know.
It is a sad day. She's the mother of his 9th child.
Wow.
He's
Wow.
almost 70. She's 35.
Yeah, I love that. I
But
love that. Nothing wrong with that.
It is a Hollywood success story, as they have been together for 9 years. So.
Wow, that is a year for every Gibson child. I love it. Well, that is pretty good. I mean, 9 years is now. Are they? I think it's a separation. They're not getting divorced yet. Isn't that right?
Sorry. Well, usually one thing leads to another.
Well, sometimes families and
No,
people get back together.
They
They might just
quietly,
need a break.
apparently, they split up about a year ago. We're just now hearing about it.
Oh, I
What?
I see.
Yeah.
All right.
They're
It's
not.
been out
I don't
there
think
for
they're
a
getting
while.
back together.
Yeah. Yeah.
She probably realized he's crazy, but I thought she was a little cray-cray as well. So
Well, it probably takes an interlocking craziness to make it work, And by the way, maybe that's what it takes for all of us. We're all a little bit touched, maybe but Gibson is definitely another level.
Yeah.
For sure. He's also another level of talented. I mean, I have to say the guy's incredibly talented. And so, I try to call, honestly, that which should be called. And in this case, I'd call crazy and talent all in one wonderful package. Tell me about, as long as we're on celebrities,
Yeah.
the fact that Amal Clooney, she is the wife of George Clooney, and George Clooney, who is George Clooney, and their twins, Ella and Alexander. I was reading that they are, I don't know if they're moving to France, but they have French citizenship now.
Well, they have an estate in France that they bought in 2021.
Wow.
What?
And it's a big farm in France. And he describes it as their primary residence. So they're often in France. And they now have been awarded French citizenship, the family.
Wow.
So, yeah, what's interesting is there is a bill being floated by a Republican in Congress to do away with dual citizenship for Americans. You have to say, I'm an American and nothing else. I think it's unconstitutional and probably won't pass, but we'll see.
I don't know. They're writing up probably a new constitution over the long holiday weekend.
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays in the new year. But it's nice that Amal and George have an estate. He also has a huge place on Lake Como. And I know this because, I read about it in all the tabs. Can't get enough of the tabs. And when you go to Lake Como, they take you, if you take one of these boat tours, always past George Clooney's place.
Oh, look at that. Good job,
Yeah.
Tony. That's
There
beautiful.
it is. Wow, Tony is so damn good.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
He said, George Clooney, that he was worried about raising his kids in LA and the culture of Hollywood. Didn't
Oh.
want his kids to be walking around worried about paparazzi, didn't want them to be compared to somebody else's famous kids. And he also said, in France, they're not on their iPads. They have dinner with grown-ups, they have to take their dishes in, and they have a much better life. So
Wow. Who knew you? I love that in the statement as to why we're moving to France, taking your dishes in is
Yeah.
one of the things that you bring in. Yeah.
your kids have chores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for the Clooney's. Look, if you have a farm compound, is that what it is? It's a farm, you said?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It looks like a French villa estate thing. I mean,
Yeah, if you have a villa estate wherever you have it, I'm guessing you don't have to worry about paparazzi. So I mean, all I'm saying is George. And by the way, I have I want to say I know George. But I've had some interactions with George. Very, very nice guy, very smart guy, obviously insanely talented. But so when I say George, as I often might use a celebrity's first name, sometimes just to create the impression that I know them. In this case, I actually can say George. That's my long explanation for that. So I would say, George, there are no big villas in this country, America, that you could have moved to and avoid the paparazzi. I'm just saying that, once you move to a big farm villa estate, you're pretty well protected from the paparazzi. Now, it sounds to me like he's pointing to certain cultural touchstones that he finds in Europe that we don't have in America. Maybe this is a place that's sort of leading the decadent descent into the kind of a poisonous adolescence he doesn't want his kids ending up in. And I'll grant you that. But I'm just, I'm saddened, Kim. That's what I did. I'm really saddened by the fact that George and Amal are gone.
Here he can't walk around, right, without being like a celebrity targeted because everybody knows who he is. But there in southern France, he said they could keep a lower profile. Very simple, very accessible family. He doesn't have to hide. Like no one's bothering him. He goes shopping in the little town.
Okay.
He went to the movie opening. Like he's not bombarded like he would be here if George Clooney walked down the street.
And I'll accept that. I mean, that makes some sense. I mean, I think that he's an international star. I'm guessing that there are going to be paparazzi in other places as well. Paparazzi, the word comes from the Italian paparazzi, from those who were kind of just buzzing around everywhere, and that's how they got their name. But anyway, best of luck to George and Amal. They look, if things don't work out in France, you go back to Lake Como, and then you rotate to your place in Manhattan, and then you can come back out to Hollywood for a little while. George has got options. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you for being here. We are alive. I am enjoying a cup, my last cup for the year of Coachella Valley coffee, which...
Speaking of which, I have a question for you.
Well, before the question, I just want to show you. I'm the Peacefully Resist mug, which is available at getmarkmerch.com. And, of course, our logo is on the back side of it. It's a very tasteful mug, and I encourage you to try it. Now, a question. It was you, Kim, is it?
Yes, it is Kim. Thank you.
Kim, how are you?
Okay.
Thank you, Professor Thompson. Jim S. sent a message.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, you're right. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Thank you. Mark T at checkout for 10% off.
Yes.
CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. I got so wrapped up with the mug, I forgot to mention. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
Yes.
Try it. You will never, ever regret it.
Worth any and all pennies that you'll spend. So good.
Mark T for 10% off. Yes, go ahead.
Jim S. asked.
Kim, is it? Go ahead, please.
Kim, how are you?
Mark Thompson Show Facebook page. Clearly not your favorite McAllister. He said, I need Kim to ask Mark how he makes his coffee. I'm a pour over person, 1-2 cups at a time. And yes, he says Coachella Valley coffee is the best.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, I'll tell you, I make coffee in many different ways, or a handful of different ways. The pour over is really great. So good for you for doing that. I think that can be a terrific cup of coffee. I also will tell you that we have a basic bitch coffee machine, and it's like not even expensive, and it makes the most amazing coffee. It's all about the beans, man. It's all about the beans and the grind. And so if you have great beans like Coachella Valley coffee, and even just a basic grind. We have Burr grinders, but that stuff worth spending money on. If you want a great cup of coffee, spend the money on the beans and spend the money on the grind. And there it is, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, Mark T at checkout for 10% off. But more to the point, and to answer your question, we also have the Ferrari of espresso machines. Got it from Pasquini many years ago. It's been just like a Ferrari, which means it's in the shop all the time. It's super great, but it's also super expensive to maintain it and all the rest. And it can be temperamental, I guess might be the name or the word I'd use. But I don't think you can see it, Tony, one of those type machines. There are a bunch of them now, though. There it is. Yeah. That's very much like our machine. Yeah.
That looks really complicated to use. Look at all those levers and things.
Yeah, and I like the more complicated it is, the better for me, because I like, all that stuff. But sure. I am conceding, and you can tell even the way I describe it, that it is probably a waste of money. I mean, it's thousands of dollars, and it's then you got a knock box with it because you have the espresso thing, and then that's where you put the espresso grinds and all this stuff. And it becomes a sort of subculture, like anybody who is part of any subculture who's into collecting, I don't know, decorative plates or whatever, you begin to get way into it, and it's probably a bit of ridiculousness. But yeah, that's very much like the machine we have.
Wow.
So again, but the machine is, I'd say it's operating 7 months out of the year. Okay. So it's like really, yeah. So as
she's not reliable.
Yeah.
No.
I would do basic bitch. There you go. That's a great pour over. I believe that, the one thing I don't like is the canisters, because they're so bad for the environment, those kinds of canisters in the espresso, but that's great. That pour over is what we're showing you. And but they now have the canisters, and they have this at Coachella Valley Coffee where you can have canisters that you fill with Coachella Valley Coffee. And so you can put those canisters, you know what I'm talking about, like the Nespresso stuff.
Sure,
that's,
little pods or whatever.
Right, little pods. Thank you. That's the right word. And so you can do those without it being as harmful to the environment. So I recommend that. I don't do that. Again, I do the other stuff because it's just more of a show. But I'm fundamentally of the view that great coffee is made of great beans and a good grind, and then just drink it on up. As I say, we have a basic bitch machine, and we have it every morning, and that's what I'm drinking from today, and it's delicious. So drink up and enjoy.
My husband uses this thing called the AeroPress, and he loves it so much that we have to travel with it. And a couple of days ago, I broke it.
Ooh.
I know. Yeah, it was a bad scene. Immediately, the minute I broke it, I went online and ordered a new part. I'm like, we can't be without this thing.
How did you break it?
Well, they used to have, there was this column of plastic, but I was concerned about nanoplastics. So finally they came out. There's the plastic version of this. So finally they came out with a glass version, and it's really expensive. But I thought it's worth it because he uses it every day. And I was trying to get the coffee. There's like this little coffee thing of pressed grounds that end up inside of the tube. And I was trying to get them out, and I broke the glass canister. So I had to order another part.
Well, a lot of people in the chat also have the AeroPress. I'm not familiar with it. And I would say that, yes, if you can get away from plastic, it's a good thing to do. I love that you went with the glass. And you're telling me that you put the ground coffee in the base of that, and then you pour the water in and then press it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Super easy and makes amazing coffee, he says. He swears by it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would you've aroused my curiosity. Maybe I'll get one in the new year.
Yeah, don't
Oh,
get
there it is, Tony, with the way it works.
There it is. And then you push it.
I also would get a glass one if I could. That's really cool.
So then you do it, and then you unscrew it, and there's this little like circle of pressed coffee grounds in there.
Sure, and then you just throw that away. Or
I'm the one that washes it after it's used, and so I was trying to get the coffee grounds out, and I broke it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You've You've aroused my curiosity, as I said.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done?
I'm sure you did apologize, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does an apology go in your house?
It goes, let's try to order the new part before anyone notices that I broke it.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Okay. Wow. Very, very cool. Well, anyway, good luck, all coffee drinkers. That's
The Mark Thompson Show.
I have much to get to. Why is it the last cup of Coachella for the year? I'm switching to booze till midnight? Question mark, says Wes in Florida. I'm trying to cut down on the booze. I'm trying to cut down on everything. I'm not a boozer per se, but I do like an adult beverage. I guess it's really bad for you. I don't know. We always knew it was bad for us, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
On my birthday, I send you a present, says Luis. Thanks for an
happy
awesome
birthday,
year.
Luis.
This is a
Woohoo!
super chat that's coming in. If you're just listening, that's what I'm reading. $10 super chat. The Mark Thompson Show and my Dodgers winning the World Series almost made up for the dumpster fire most of 2025 was. And this is Luis's birthday.
Happy birthday, Luis.
One of the funnier and more insightful chatsters and viewer listeners that we have. And thank you. He's usually watching the live show, which is pretty cool. So, Luis, thank you. And happy birthday, pal. Happy New Year to an amazing team, says Harry Magnum with a $5 super chat. And may the new year bring Trump all the karma he deserves. Yeah, karma is seldom paid quickly. $10 super sticker from Nullifidian. Nullifidian, a big shout out. And a big shout out
Happy New Year.
to everyone who is throwing us a couple of dollars on the way out of 2025. Thank you, Nullifidian. Lori Dolly, who's a very generous supporter of our show, with a 2025 super chat saying, bye, bye, bye. Yeah, exactly. I am done with 2025.
Good day, sir.
Exactly. Really done with it. All right. Someone who I'll never be done with is waiting in the green room, in the waiting area. And happy birthday to Luis, says Liz. This man is a scholar. He's a lecturer. He's an author. Our former colleague from KGO Radio, the professor, the brilliant John Rothmann, everyone.
Thank you, Mark. And may I say, I hope you had a wonderful birthday and you don't look a day older.
Thank you very much, John. It's amazing what good lighting will do. You know, I am excited to speak to you on this last day of a miserable year. Maybe you can put into some perspective the overall, overarching parts of what America has done to itself. And then I will get into some specific things that have come out of various interactions that Trump has had with the press, for example, during the Netanyahu presser, et cetera, and various policy decisions he's made this week. But give me a sense as we look at a snapshot back at this year, what stands out to you?
This was the year of Donald Trump. My son observed to me that whatever you think about Trump, his impact on the American presidency, on the world, and on the United States has been profound. And when the history of this era is written, Donald Trump will play the central role. There are presidents you can ignore or feel they didn't have a huge impact, but Donald Trump is certainly not in that category.
When we look at Trump, I see the aggressive, intimidating nature of a presidency that was so very filled with recrimination and anger that was fueled, of course, by everything that was personal to Trump, but also fed by the anger that he whipped up and that also existed in America. I'm talking about MAGA Nation, feeling as though they were being held hostage by the liberal values of America that strayed from where they wanted America to be, which is why that Make America Great Again thing landed for so many people in so many different ways. It landed economically. It landed sort of with a post-World War II romanticized vision of what America was. And frankly, I think it landed with racism. It landed with a kind of white America feeling aggrieved. But before we go completely into that circus car, I would say that the Latino vote, which came out in a big way, as you know, for Donald Trump, That was one of the things that animated his presidency. And so I see Trump having the liberty, if you will, even though you'll probably tell me, hey, he didn't win by that much. I mean, it was, he may feel he had a mandate, but he didn't really. He came in and unabated dismantled the U.S. government.
I can't disagree with you. And there's one other element, a word you did not use, but I will use, and that is revenge. Donald Trump is out for revenge, and he is going to destroy, as best he can, all of his political enemies. But on balance, when you ask me the question, what is the most significant aspect of this last year? It is the presidency of Donald Trump, whether you talk about domestic policy, foreign policy, economic policy. It shows the domination of the American presidency, of our agendas and our direction. And I know we're going to get into foreign policy in a few minutes, but I wanted to emphasize that. I'm going to have dinner tonight with a very dear friend who insisted that there was no revenge that Donald Trump would implement were he elected. And I think he was wrong and I was right.
Well, I mean, I had dinner a few weeks ago with someone who is a big influencer on YouTube who maintained that Trump was going to really be a peacemaker, that he doesn't want to get America involved in any wars. And I used to argue at the time, or what are you talking about? I mean, the military he views as a prop. This guy has no sense of anything, and he will absolutely turn the military machine in any number of ways around the world into theaters of conflict that we've never seen before. And that's exactly what's happened. But my point is, the rhetoric, and by the way, the rhetoric of all candidates is, I'm going to end a war. I mean, all candidates, no one says, I can't wait to really win this war by pouring more American, blood and treasure into it. Everybody's talking the peace game. But for some reason, Trump's con landed on those who I would say are generally pretty smart people.
Look, let's be blunt. He has purged the American military. He has purged generals and admirals. He is molding something to his vision of the world. His Secretary of Defense, please note I will not call him Secretary of War. There is no such department anymore, not since 1947. But Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of Defense, and he reflects Donald Trump's position on the world. Look, Mark, you can see the reaction, particularly in terms of Venezuela. And somebody asked me the question, is there any restraint that can be applied? And the answer is no. I've told you the story before, but when we were at KGO, I had the opportunity on several occasions to interview Senator Thomas Eagleton, who was the ill-fated 18-day running mate for vice president with George McGovern. And Eagleton is the one who came up with the idea of a War Powers Act. But when the final vote came, he voted against what he had himself proposed. And when I asked him why, he said, John, the War Powers Act expands the power of a president to make war. And I think that is key. There is a question that has to be posed. Will there be a reaction? And although you haven't asked me about 2026, I'm going to keep my eye on the midterm elections, as I know you will, and we'll no doubt be talking about it each Wednesday. But it appears at this point that although the White House would like to make Donald Trump the central figure, believing that will carry them to victory, in fact, this could be the greatest repudiation of a sitting president of the United States since Andrew Johnson in the 1860s. So this is a fascinating moment, and his place in history will very much be determined by the outcome of the election, and I hasten to point out what the United States Supreme Court does. So all these things are things we'll be watching.
When I look back at this year, John, of course, it's Trump. I've talked about Trump as a generational political figure on this show. I've talked about it a lot. And I've taken a lot of blowback because people misunderstand that as sort of some kind of compliment. But I think, as you've noted, I think it's indisputably the case. But what I see in him is something else that we haven't really seen on display in the American presidency ever. And you can speak to it because you're a historian when it comes to the presidency. You know so very much. But I see the cowing of American institutions completely to the will of a president who is through and through corrupt. And here's what I mean. The media institutions folded, harassed by lawsuits, CBS, ABC, and by the need for government approval that was now in the control of this guy who was in oppositional footing with them. The legal institutions, this all happened in the first couple of months. The legal institutions, which also folded almost completely to this same guy who was doing things like saying no one from that law firm is allowed in any government building because of that law firm's work on cases that involve January 6 protesters, etc. And the filling of the Justice Department with all of his acolytes, all of his loyalists, and I haven't even yet gotten to universities. The universities also folded. So he went after academic institutions, media institutions, legal institutions, and the government. And he did it all in like 90 days. And they got the memo quickly. And all of the heads of technology companies and other corporations in America got the memo as well. And it was easy. It was, this guy is about transactions, and we are going to work with him in what are clearly corrupt transactions, but transactions that serve our bottom line.
I can't disagree with you on anything you've said. And the real villain in all of this is the Congress. The Republican Party in Congress has rolled over and allowed Donald Trump to do what he's doing. But let me point out, you mentioned the Justice Department. Take a look at Pam Bondi, who is the Attorney General of the United States, who does anything that the president asks her to do. That is not the way the Department of Justice should function. And may I also point out, very sadly, the death of Tatiana Schlossberg, the granddaughter of John F. Kennedy and the daughter of Caroline Kennedy Schlossberg. And her final statement, which everyone should read, is a blast at her first cousin, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the gutting of the Department of Health and Human Services. And by the way, the measles epidemic, which is now nationwide. Well, I can credit that to Donald Trump. But what's interesting to me is there's no real reaction, no reaction from people. If other presidents had pulled the kind of things that Donald Trump is pulling, there would have been outrage, there would have been impeachment. But the Republican Party is so cowed by Donald Trump. And we'll see what happens. You're seeing some breakaway. You mentioned it earlier with some of the members of Congress. But this is going to be a real test in 2026. If the Republican Party wraps itself around Donald Trump and wins, he will be fully vindicated. But if the Republican Party wraps itself around Donald Trump and loses, I think that'll be important. One other quick point. I know you have questions about foreign policy, but I just want to say J.D. Vance has a clear path to the Republican nomination for president of the United States if he chooses to run at this point. But remember that vice presidents are very often held responsible for what presidents have done. And you will recall that in 1964, Lyndon Johnson won a massive, massive victory, but Hubert Humphrey was unable to sustain that momentum in 1968. So we have to watch now what the Republican Party says and does about J.D. Vance. So these are all questions that intrigue us and will make for great discussion.
Well, we covered yesterday the fact that J.D. Vance has essentially brokered a peace between Musk and Trump, and J.D. Vance has been in constant touch with Elon Musk. This is not an accident. It speaks very much to what you're talking about, which is political aspirations beyond just where he is. As you know, he was elevated to where he is as vice president by Peter Thiel, first into the Senate and then to the vice presidency. And to be fair, in Don Jr. also.
Yes, I was going to say Don Jr. and Eric, who were
the Trump kids. And just because we're talking about the Trump kids, I would mention, and I don't want to neglect crypto. Crypto is the cash pipeline that has truly enriched the Trump family in a way that no other cash pipeline has. And that says a lot because there is a lot of cash flowing into that family right now.
It is the most corrupt administration in American history. And if you and I are able in a year or 2 years or 10 years to do a program simply on the corruption that has been brought to the American government, I always remind people that Sherman Adams, who was chief of staff to Dwight Eisenhower, lost everything because he accepted a vicuna coat. We've come a long way since those days.
Well, the foreign money flowed in from the UAE, the Qataris, the luxury jet, and that was then going to
Air
be
Force One. Air
yeah.
Force One. Can you believe it?
I mean, it really is quite extraordinary. And again, the platform on which the meme coins, Melania's meme coins, Trump's meme coins, all are traded, is owned by the Trump family and by the son of Witkoff, who's handling all of the negotiations in Ukraine and the Middle East.
Your observations are critical. And for those who listen to this podcast or to my podcast, who suggest that Trump is pure as the driven snow, let me assure you that is not the case. I will say it again. The most corrupt administration in American history.
I want to ask you about, I'll have more on this, by the way, in the next hour, but just to...
But I'm not with you in the next hour.
Exactly, which is why I want to get into some...
without me?
I want to get into some stuff. Play me a little bit of Netanyahu and Trump. This is mostly Trump speaking with the press, and honestly, we'll just kind of needle drop this and see. I put aside a few cuts for Tony, and here's one of them. Go ahead.
A magnificent, big, beautiful ballroom that the country has wanted, the White House has wanted for 150 years. It's a massive job, and it's a tiny fraction of that number. And we're under budget and ahead of schedule. Now, it's bigger than I told you. It's after realizing we're going to do the inauguration in that building, it's got all bulletproof glass. It's got all drone, they call it drone-free roof. So drones won't touch it. It's a big, beautiful, safe building.
So I will just spend a moment on this because I was and have made fun of him blowing out the budget on this ballroom. Started at 200 million, then it went to 250, then 300, now 400. And of course, it is manifestly corrupt because the ballroom supposedly is being underwritten by private donations. Private donations are not permitted. You can speak to this, Brother Rothmann, because you know this stuff so well. You can say, well, it's so great. Taxpayer money isn't involved in this. No, but the idea is that private donations aren't a part of the American government. You don't build things with private donations because of the quid pro quo that generally follows. That is to say, we'll give you tens of millions of dollars for your whatever, in this case, ballroom. I'll put it in quotes because I'll talk more about that in a bit. But the reality is that we're going to get something on the other side for it. And so Trump knows this, and you already have Palantir, Apple, Amazon, these huge companies that have business with the American government. I mean, they're big contractors. They depend on this. They are donating to this, again, in quotes, ballroom. Speak to this. It's a grift, in my view.
Of course it's a grift, and it's corrupt. Do you give money away and get nothing in response? Of course not. And this is a way of bribery, which I would remind you is an impeachable offense. So this is something that we're going to have to deal with in the future. There are ways now in the courts to try to limit what Donald Trump is doing, but who knows whether it will succeed or not.
And these numbers, by the way, John, these bloated numbers offer no transparency. You can say, well, it's all through private business. And yeah, again, another reason that the way the American government is structured is such that the American people are, because it is their government, have a look into the way the money actually pencils out. In this case, because it's private, you don't. We have a general sense of things, but it's really dependent on what they share.
Yeah, and look, you've pointed it out. The word is grift, and it is also corruption, and it also, by the way, shows the impotence of Congress, who should have stepped in immediately. But again, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so, the Republicans are going to pay the price in the next midterm election if the Democrats make the case as effectively as I think they will.
Yeah. Kim, you will handle, please, in the chat, some Nazi guy who's into the chat, if you would, please. I'm assuming you would handle that. I don't know what's happened, why he's still there. Also, I would say, just as a note on this ballroom, and I again, I made fun of the way in which this thing was announced, what it is, where the money was coming from, and then I got a great email from Greg, who is a viewer listener, who pointed me to some additional information on the ballroom, and it's clearly way more than a ballroom. It is an AI center. It appears to be. There's going to be a lot that's got nothing to do with ballrooms and celebrations and champagne fountains and everything to do with technology. And that's the reason it's getting so expensive. I'll talk about that in the next hour. Play me a little bit more of Netanyahu and Donald Trump, please.
There is a growing fear of a confrontation between Israel and Turkey. How are you going to ease this tension given the fact that President Erdogan calls Mr. Netanyahu Hitler and compares Israel to the Nazis?
Well, I know President Erdogan very well, and as you all know, he's a very good friend of mine. And I believe that, and I do respect him, and Bibi respects him, and they're not going to have a problem. They're not going to have a problem. I know him very well. And you've seen me do things with President Erdogan and Turkey that nobody else could have done. We're not going to have a problem. He's done a fantastic job. I'm with him all the way. I'm with Bibi all the way. Nothing's going to happen.
So
Yes.
we'll continue with that in a second. But I wanted to go two tracks with you on this. One is the specific that he's speaking of, Erdogan's opposition really to Israel and Israeli policy under Netanyahu, and also the way that Trump sort of sees with a simplicity that based on his relationship with everyone and the fact that he simply has talked to people and they have charmed him, and he's pretty easy, right?
Yeah, just like Putin. Just like Putin,
Just like Putin,
I'm gonna
that
solve
he
it within
has, that
24
everything's handleable. It's no big deal. He talks about China the same way, and I'll get to that. But give me a moment on Erdogan and Netanyahu and Trump in that triangle.
Look, Erdogan, when I was in Turkey several years ago, I had an opportunity to meet with people very active politically. Erdogan is a dictator. He is a man with no scruples, no morals, and that's who Donald Trump gets into bed with. The reality of the Middle East is that Erdogan, although he has always been critical of Israeli policy, whether it was under Netanyahu or under someone else, the simple fact is that Erdogan wants to survive. Benjamin Netanyahu is a man who has proven that he will do anything to defend his country. And therefore, when you stop and think about the geopolitical aspects, Netanyahu is opposed to Iran. So is Erdogan. So is Trump. Saudi Arabia, which is now a firm ally of the United States, has stepped back from its harsh rhetoric and is going to go along with the Trump policy because their major enemy is Iran. So you have all of the ingredients. By the way, you'll note in that press conference that Donald Trump did not rule out attacking Iran again. And I would
it's actually worse than that. He noted it. He actually referenced it. It wasn't as though he even avoided the topic. Go ahead.
That's why I approached it so modestly.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Don't forget, we made the plan possible by taking out Iran. And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading, that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites. We know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, and I hope they're not doing it because we don't want to waste the fuel on a B-2. It's a 37-hour trip both ways. I don't want to waste a lot of fuel. Okay?
So there you have it. He mentions it specifically. He tries to take the victory lap that he took. Remember when after the big bombing of the Iran nuclear plant, he said, we've ended their program. It's done. Thank you. I'll be at Mar-a-Lago having a sit by the pool type thing because we've taken care of it. But now he tacitly acknowledges, right, that they're still at it while still taking that victory lap, and they're not going to be building it in that place. They're not going to be working on their nuclear program where we bombed them because we took care of it.
And you haven't mentioned Venezuela, which I also want to point out, is becoming a major sticking point. And again, Congress is rolling over. There is no attempt to modify what the president is doing. And the other thing I want to mention, I know we've got so much to talk about, is tariffs. There will be, within the next month or two, a major decision on the legality of the Trump tariffs. He just lost a vote in the Supreme Court, 6-3. Will that happen again over tariffs? And if that happens, what happens to his grand vision of tariff policy?
John's talking about the 6-3 vote on the troops in cities. I think that the Supreme Court could do him a huge favor by ruling that the tariffs are illegal, because they are going to wreak havoc, and already have, on so many different markets in America. It's a true kind of economic terrorism that he's involved in. He doesn't even realize it, probably.
I want to put in a plug for Coachella Coffee, just for you.
Yes.
But I want to point out that coffee prices have skyrocketed because of the tariffs.
So let me talk about Venezuela and ask you a question about Pete Hegseth. Is it possible in a post-Trump world that Hegseth, who ordered this obliteration of the Venezuelan vessel and continues to be, running head of the parade on policy in Venezuela, could be tried for murder, war crimes, along the lines of what we're seeing with, Netanyahu and others? I mean, there is both the International Court and The Hague, and I know we're not signatories, I guess.
No,
that
we
might
aren't,
be,
and it's highly unlikely. Although, if the Democrats control the House, there will be investigations, there will be subpoenas, and you will note that right now, nothing is happening. And that's amazing. We haven't even mentioned the Epstein files and the tremendous abuse of power, the defiance of a nearly unanimous resolution in the Senate, unanimous in the House with only one dissent. There are still problems that need to be confronted, and we know that the Epstein files have been purged. And what will they show? We don't know. But the most important single thing for Donald Trump is to discredit it all. Remember the word hoax. It's a hoax. The whole thing is a Democrat hoax.
Yeah, he's evolved from it's a hoax to and nothing to see here to this new place where he kind of acknowledges. Of course, I knew Jeffrey Epstein. I was not, I had him thrown out of Mar-a-Lago. He kind of looks at his relationship with Epstein as and plays it off like, he dismissed him. He was one of the people who saw Epstein for what he was, type thing.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a smoking gun in the Epstein files. I think you point out something very important, which is the Justice Department did not respond to a congressional legal mandate and order to release those files, and the redactions do not conform to that legal order. So there are potential, anyway, John, legal repercussions for Pam Bondi in all of this, aren't there?
Oh, there are. And I think she understands that. But remember, the President of the United States also has the power of complete and absolute pardon when it comes to federal crimes. And I can assure you, Pam Bondi's loyalty to Donald Trump, in large measure, hinges on the ability to be pardoned. And if somebody says to me, well, can you imagine a cabinet official being pardoned? Well, on Christmas Eve some years ago, Caspar Weinberger received a presidential pardon. I point this out because
he was Secretary of Defense under Nixon. Go ahead.
No, under Reagan.
Under Reagan, sorry. Yeah.
He was Secretary of Health and what was then called.
I thought he was Defense.
He was under Reagan.
Oh, okay.
He was Secretary of.
My pal was his speechwriter.
Yeah, he was Secretary of HEW under Nixon. So. I mean, there are a lot of different.
Don't
elements.
try to pull special government knowledge on me, Rothman. I know you know this stuff better than I do.
No, but you grew up in Washington.
This isn't a competition.
You grew up in Washington, and I hold your father responsible. By the way, give your mother my best wishes.
All right. So, in summary, John Rothman.
Does that mean you're dismissing me?
I am easing you out the door. Well, it's been a lovely evening. Time to get our coats and to usher in a new year. I would say really point to the midterms. You put a lot of hope in the midterms and the American people.
I do.
It is true that with Rome ablaze, you may see this slapback or clapback that the American people will provide. I mean, if early special elections are any kind of litmus test, Democratic candidates or those that are not GOP stand a good chance of winning.
And that's the point. I mean, you can see the trend. So when Susie Wiles says the Republican Party should wrap itself around Donald Trump, he's not on the ballot, but make him the center focus. Her belief is that the people who believe in Donald Trump will continue. I participated in a talk show for 2.5 hours last week on Trump derangement syndrome. And
that had to be fun.
With me, playing a lesser role, but with me was a psychologist. And I began by surprising them. I said, yes, Trump derangement syndrome is real, but it works on both sides. That means to say the people who love Donald Trump suffer that syndrome, and the people who hate him suffer that syndrome. Our job as analysts, and I hope that I am still conveying the feeling that I have of trying to be objective when it comes to presidential politics, even though I'm very partisan in my dislike of Donald Trump, it is very important to understand that the reason, going back to your first question, what was the key to this year? Donald Trump. And he intends to dominate for as long as he is president.
John, before I let you go, I want to ask you about the latest theater of conflict beyond Venezuela. Nigeria, this war on the Somalis. I mean,
to so-called protect Christians, which is a myth of the right which supports Donald Trump.
Well, the area that they bombed, there's no history of specific Christian persecution there at all.
Oh, really? You mean you want to confuse people with the facts? Look, it's true. And may I say, when you began with the question of entertainment, I thought you were going to talk about the Kennedy Center. I thought you were going to say to me, are you looking at what's happening to the now Trump Kennedy Center? And I mentioned earlier the passing of Tatiana Schlossberg, but her wholesale blast at the Trump administration over healthcare, over the Kennedy Center. Have you read and watched the reaction of the Kennedy family? And by the way, this goes to the heart of Donald Trump's ignoring the law. The law says only Congress can change the name of the Kennedy Center or the Lincoln Memorial. Can you imagine? The Kennedy Center was established as a memorial to John F. Kennedy. Look at the language. Well, the Lincoln Memorial was established to honor Abraham Lincoln. We're going to name that the Trump Lincoln Memorial. I mean, you have to stop and put things in perspective. The most important lesson I've learned about Donald Trump is he doesn't give a damn about law or the Constitution. And that should disturb us all.
John is right. It's a little like going to the headstone at a cemetery and putting your name on alongside the deceased name. It's kind of crazy. I mean, it's a memorial to a fallen leader. But the New Year's Eve concerts at the Kennedy Center are canceled, John. The jazz drummer Billy Hart and there's the Cookers. They're
they withdrew.
Also an all-star jazz septet. They've canceled because of this that you've spoken of.
And the Cookers are being sued, I understand.
Yeah, for $1 million.
$1 million, right. Yeah. So I want you to know, if you cancel me, Mark, you can count on a lawsuit.
Wow. That's scary. Well, we'd never cancel you, my friend. Very grateful for you. Let me see if anybody had any specific questions on the way out.
I want to wish you a belated happy birthday.
Thank you. Grunge says, Happy New Year, America. Greetings from Belgium. How about Belgium?
Bravo.
Love our...
Mark, thank you for including me in this program. It is so important that people listen. Remember the one thing we didn't talk about in depth, and that is Donald Trump's war on the media. And it means that if you and I were still at KGO, they would have been at war with us. And if you've taken a look at what's happened at KCBS, the leading news station in San Francisco, the intimidation is clear. And what would we have done? We would have united with one voice, no matter what. And
I don't know. I think you romanticize all that, so you and I probably disagree on that. Tony Ladowdy, John, hasn't it been obvious right from the beginning that Putin has too much on Trump for Trump to ever turn against him?
Maybe. I'll certainly look to history to answer that question. But
Tony,
certainly
thank you for the
Trump
$10 super
admires Putin no end. And let me assure you, what's happening in Ukraine, which we haven't covered, is a monumental disaster. The people are suffering incredibly. The nuclear power plant is in disastrous condition.
Well, even Trump's comments about that, which are associated with Ukraine, was spoken of so fondly by Putin. He says he's going to take care of Ukraine. Don't worry. I mean, it was while he's making these comments while Zelensky's standing there having to listen to this. I mean, this guy who has begun this war of expansion and aggression, I'm talking about Putin, speaking as though he was going to, somehow take care of the Ukrainians in some charitable way, selling them energy at discounted costs, etc.
Absolutely right. This is, may I tell you the sense of despair that I feel? This is an American tragedy. And one day, Mark, we will write a book titled American Tragedy, the Trump Years. And I think history will judge this conclusion to be correct. But I look forward to 2026. You know, I'm an eternal optimist. I always try to put the bright side and the spin on it. And so I'm hopeful that 2026 will be a better year. And guess what, Mark? 1 year from now, you and I will reflect on what I hope will be a better year.
Let it be so. Thank you so much, John Rothman. Appreciate you. You can find John's podcast, Around the Political World with John Rothman, wherever better podcasts are offered. Thank you, John Rothman. Happy New Year, my friend.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Who's Mark Thompson?
The Mark Thompson Show.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year to everyone. Our last show of 2025. Dillette, who is a massive supporter of this show. I mean, there are a handful of people who are massive supporters, and then there are a handful of people who are supporters that we recognize every day when we run the scroll of people who are part of our Patreon and PayPal communities, and we're so grateful. Wouldn't be on the air without you guys. So Dillette is in that handful of people who are so very important to our staying around. And today, Dillette Ziegelman-Jackson with a $50 super chat. Wow. Happy New Year. I've enjoyed this program and all of you so much. We are lucky to still have this format. Thank you to all of you. Well, I'm quite flattered by that because I know when she says all of you, she really means me.
Yes.
Because,
Do you know who I am?
Yes, I know
I'm
that.
kind of a big deal.
I think that when I hear all of you, thank you, all of you, it takes a little something away from me. And
Thank you so much.
I'm just saying, I know you mean me.
What?
Happy secular New Year to John, Mark, Kim, Tony, Albert, and the Mark Thompson Show community from Brian Reich. All
Hi,
in
Brian.
the best of health for 2026. Yeah, health would be nice.
Yeah.
Health would really be nice. And thank you for another great year, says Hollywood Cowgirl.
Yeehaw.
Shout out. Thank you for another great year of the Mark Thompson Show. Belated happy birthday, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. That's everything except for Kwanzaa. Giddy up 2026. Yeah, bring it on. Just spilled coffee all over the console.
Oh.
Hold on a second.
Not the precious liquid.
Kim, talk to the boys and girls for a second.
Okay, let's do a chunk of Trump. Let's do it, Tony.
Open wide. Ready? Here comes your
Tony, she can't do that.
It's my
Stop.
I can do it.
You cannot. I said talk to them for a second.
And then you take control away.
There are ways to.
I find this to be a very mixed message.
Tony.
I blame you.
Tony, let me bring in Tony because Tony and I work in real.
Thanks, Tony.
In real broadcasting, Kim. Tony, the idea when I'm saying talk to the boys and girls for a second is to just vamp for 20 seconds or so. You know that. You knew what I meant, right, Tony?
You were headed that way anyway.
Right, Tony? You know what I'm talking about? Somebody's talking right now and I can't hear them. But
can
go
hear me,
ahead. Go ahead. What is it, Tony?
No, I just did what I'm told, man.
Tony wants to stay out of it. What I meant is vamp for 20 seconds while I clean up the coffee spill. Instead,
well, depending on how bad this coffee
spill,
spill,
you bring in a major franchise. You launch a missile. There's no need for that, Kim. You're as bad as Pete Hegseth.
I wanted. There were certain stories I wanted to tell people.
I'm going to get to those. I'll take my apology on the air if you would, please.
We could try ignoring it, sir.
No, I think it's.
I'm not sorry. Oh no.
My gosh.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done?
I think you should apologize, Kim, before we.
2025 without apology. I blame you.
I am telling you what.
Absolutely
Everybody, you understand this. You understand it.
That was very inappropriate.
Thank you. Even Donald Trump gets it, and I.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
They do. They do it. I said vamp for 20 seconds and talk to the boys and girls. What does she do? She decides to do a franchise.
And I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
Yeah, Kim.
Yeah, Mindy says Kim can do it if she wants to.
Oh, Kim can do anything. Believe me. I don't even know why I'm on this show. Kim is it's her thing. All right, I'm gonna.
These children, no fighting, peace on earth.
I love my Coachella Valley coffee. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Discount code is Mark T.
Put that coffee down.
Time for a chunk of Trump.
What?
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Kim will lead us through chunk of Trump. She has very strong feelings about it and really wanted to get to it. And so I called for it. And now here is Kim McAllister.
There is the first story regarding the United States removing panels honoring Black soldiers. This happened at a World War II cemetery in the Netherlands. And of course, people aren't so happy about that. As at the American Cemetery in the Netherlands, Trump, of course, issuing a series of executive orders that ended diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. And apparently that extends to cemeteries and people who have served as well. Now there is a guest book. It's being filled with objections by people that are stopping by the cemetery to see. It happened sometime in the spring. The American Battle Monuments Commission, which is the government agency responsible for maintaining memorial sites outside of the United States, removed these panels that celebrated Black troops who helped liberate Europe from the Nazis. And they removed the panels from the visitor center at the American Cemetery in Margraten, which is the final resting place for more than 8,000 U.S. soldiers in the hills at the border of Belgium and Germany. I guess the move came after Trump issued these anti-DEI executive orders, and the removal was carried out without public explanation, but people are now pushing back on it.
Well, I think the sacrifice of African-American soldiers, particularly noteworthy in World War II, because what were they returning to? They gave their lives for a country that wouldn't even let them go to the bathroom in the same place as white soldiers. I mean, they were returning to a country that was filled with prejudice. So even in the golden sun of the days that followed World War II, the kind of liberation of Europe and the true heroism that defined so much of what American troops did and the American military associated with Allied troops in Europe, the fall of the despotism of Nazi Europe. The reality is that these troops were returning to a country that didn't even give them the basic civil liberties that they enjoy today. And so I think it's particularly loathsome that they remove these memorials, given the supreme sacrifice that this community made. And also, as I say, the reality of their life in America. Meantime, Trump and his family, they have a lot of businesses going while they are in power. And one of those businesses is the gold smartphone that they have rolled out. Yeah, I know. It's the all-American smartphone, Kim, if you want to make an American call and have it really be patriotic, you want to do it on a Trump device where you make America great again and even greater again with every call.
I mean, if you're going through TSA and they see you've got a Trump phone, I mean,
The company launched by Donald Trump's family has pushed back plans, though, to deliver this $500 gold-colored smartphone by the end of the year, because the end of the year is in a few hours. Yeah. The Trump organization rolled this out in June, the latest monetization of his presidency by this family business empire now run by Trump's sons. There is no business like the Trump business. And in this latest setback for the project, Trump Mobile says there is a strong possibility, that's a quote, that the handset is not going to be delivered this month. This is reported by the Financial Times, and it's a big setback for...
It's etched with an American flag, so maybe they need to, scrap that, because that takes a long time to etch it in.
Well, that's maybe the centerpiece. I'm not surprised that you, as a decadent liberal, would want that taken out. But I am actually sure that the Trump family is etching first the American flag and everything else follows.
Sure.
Yeah. This launch of this phone came after Trump criticized Apple over its plans to move the production of iPhones that were going to be brought to the U.S. market from China to India, of course, because the China tariffs were going to make the cost of iPhones prohibitively high. I'll just kind of remind everybody where we were. But now, this Trump gold smartphone that was going to be available to true patriots for $500, looks like it's not going to materialize, at least not on time.
They're selling second-hand smartphones from Apple and Samsung on the Trump mobile platform, but not the T1, not the big Trump phone, not the golden.
It's nice that they're selling something on
That's not fake. Yeah. That's real.
Trump is lamenting the death of the bald eagle in the United States. Trump, on his holiday in Florida, was building this narrative, essentially doing it on social media, against wind energy. So he has a war on wind energy. And so he posted an image of a dead bird underneath a turbine, again, a wind-powered turbine. And the lament that he posted was, windmills are killing all of our beautiful bald eagles. Then an official White House account jumped on with more than 1 million followers on X, and they reposted it. Unfortunately, the image was not that of a bald eagle. It actually shows a falcon that was killed at a wind farm in Israel, and that happened 8 years ago.
What?
Yeah, so...
You'd think if bald eagle death was such a problem at the windmill sites, there'd be a more current picture.
Thank you. Kim is right. Yeah. It would seem if it's such a threat, it wouldn't be hard to come up with a more contemporary reference.
Yeah.
I mentioned the Trump vetoes, 2 bills of this term vetoed completely. One had to do with Native American expansion of a region in Florida, and the other had to do with a clean water pipeline. If you're curious about that, I refer you to the beginning of this show. And Trump is blasting the scumbag, as he calls it, governor, for not honoring his fake pardon. That's right. President Trump using his downtime this week to attack the Colorado officials who refused to honor the pretend pardon of Tina Peters, going so far as to label the Colorado governor, Jared Polis, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Called him a scumbag, calling him and his district attorney 2 scumbags who should rot in hell.
She's a cheater. She was charged with protecting the vote. She was an elections official in Colorado, and then she cheated, right? And she let those people into a secure facility and damage voting machines to try to sway an election.
Well, she's a patriot, Kim, and that's what you seem to
my bad.
Glaze over. She was a former Colorado County clerk, as Kim has said, and it was all part of that criminal scheme with election deniers to, breach voting. You wondered about, would that, we wondered at the time whether that would be in any way enforced. I mean, the illegality is so manifest, right? And it was enforced. Only, again, President Trump trying to pardon her. I don't think he can pardon her, though, because it's a state crime. Isn't that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And he is upset that the governor of Colorado isn't honoring his federal pardon. He wants the governor of Colorado. So apparently, if Trump pardons you,
Don't get it, do you?
on a
You
federal
don't.
level, state officials have to take note and then do the same.
I see. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is a key point when it comes to elections. Elections are state by state. Mess with an election in a state, and you may face state charges, and even Daddy Trump can't get you out of them. So, that, I believe, and I turn to you since you were so hot to trot to get this segment started. Is that
I
chunk of
was
Trump?
hot to trot. That is the chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
Thank you. I feel so much better.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
Hey, Mark, it's George Santos here. A lot of people are telling me you're a liar.
That's pure speculation.
We're in better shape, but I don't think we're in wildly better shape.
I love it when you're angry. Your Honor, I'd like to ask for a recess.
Where are my weed smokers at?
What do you think I'm going to say to you?
Don't talk to me that way. That was very inappropriate.
That's not fake. That's real. Seriously, what the I love it.
It was great. I loved it.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
It's fantastic.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
The science is ridiculous.
What a year. It has really been fun in a sort of masochistic way to go through this year, hasn't it? I mean, Donald Trump reclaiming power and monetizing pretty much everything in sight, wall to wall. It started, I was mentioning this a couple of days ago, and I think I've mentioned it over the last couple of days. It started with the inaugural donations. Everybody jumped on board, then targeting media companies, academic institutions, right? Universities that had to pay huge fines, and they had pulled federal dollars that were designed to fuel research projects at many of these institutions, some of them critical cancer research, things that take multiple years, and the plug was just pulled in the middle. Those academic institutions collapsed, folded in terms of their pushback to the federal government. I mentioned media as well, and legal institutions, right? And you just didn't litigate. You folded. You paid, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, was it $15 million ABC paid, and some huge amount that CBS paid with what would be considered nuisance suits? They paid them to Donald Trump. It's been an incredible thing to watch the corruption of this administration completely unfettered. It's also been an incredible thing to watch the power grab completely unrestrained by any sort of congressional buy-in. So you end up with a concocted Doge, which is illegal. It's not an American governmental institution, Doge. It was created, in Elon Musk's kitchen, and he brings in a bunch of, 19 to 26-year-olds, none of whom have federal clearance, and they go in with laptops and they scrape government computers of personal data that is associated with Americans, with taxpayers, with voters, and they close down, institution by institution, American governmental agencies. They go to USAID. They started there, and they started there, of course, as I've noted to you before, because they had litigation and regulation with Elon Musk. Musk went government agency to government agency based on whether or not they had business with Musk. That is to say, they had regulatory business with Musk. So business with Musk, for example, regulatory business with Musk was very much part of what the EPA was doing. His rocket company, SpaceX, is violating all sorts of basic environmental restrictions. It's destroying habitats. Everything from noise abatement to chemical dumping is associated with SpaceX. And those things, again, tepid as the regulations are out of the EPA, they're still regulations. And Trump / Musk went after the EPA. I mean, Trump was busy, selling meme coins, etc. But what you saw from this administration was, again, unbridled power grab. Insane. And crypto became that cash pipeline that Trump had once crapped on it, right? He'd said crypto is this crazy scheme that undermines the U.S. dollar. And he's right about that, in the sense that they'd love to see crypto emerge as a prominent platform, because crypto and digital currency does operate outside of sovereign currencies like the U.S. dollar. So if you want to move dirty money, there's no better way to do it than crypto. And, huge purchases moved out of the Middle East, right? The Saudis were huge in supporting that crypto pipeline. And was it the UAE? The UAE and Qatar both, I think, poured money in, and the Saudis already had poured money into the Kushner fund that he launched immediately after the first season of Donald Trump, the first 4 years. So then the $230 million demand that Trump had to somehow right the wrong of him being pursued by the U.S. legal system. And again, the Melania meme coin, the Trump meme coin, all of this going on at the same time. So when we talk about corruption, I mean, there's so many different types of corruption going on. It is hard to categorize them. There's sort of the institutional corruption of the FBI, of the Justice Department. That's what really will enable, for example, the $230 million grab on the part of Trump. 3 people have to approve it. Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, who, as you know, is Trump's personal attorney, who he then appointed to number 2 at the Justice Department. And the third person who has to approve it is the President of the United States, who is Donald Trump. He talks about giving it to charity or something. We know he's not going to give it to charity. My God, the man ran a charity, and he didn't even give that charity money. The state of New York threw the Trump family out of the charity business. It was so manifestly corrupt.
Wasn't it their charity was for kids with cancer, and they were taking it for themselves?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this is their business model. And then the total fraud and corruption associated with pardons. In the pardon administration, the Trump administration knows, and Trump knows, that his pardon power is completely unassailable. It is unappealable. You can't and won't move against it in any way, and so he went after it. In his second administration, he did it in his first administration as well, but this second administration has been a pardon party. The J6ers, all of them pardoned. That was something he promised he'd do, and he did it. I mean, even the violent offenders, those who are seen on video beating police officers within an inch of their lives, those people were pardoned. And just as an aside, tomorrow we have our Oyer Lawyer Marathon with Liz Oyer, the former pardon attorney in the U.S. government, tossed out by the Trump administration because she pushed back even tepidly a bit on these pardons that were being doled out without even consulting the kind of routine consultation that would come through her office. She's on tomorrow, and we've put together our conversations with her. But that leaves out the pay to play. That leaves out the corruption associated with buying pardons, right? The J6 people just did something out of loyalty to Trump. But the buying of pardons, that's a whole other game, right? The Michelle Fiore, you know, she's the one who raised tens of thousands of dollars for a memorial honoring a fallen police officer, right? And then the money was supposed to fund a monument. Instead, it went into personal expenses. I think part of the personal expenses were was plastic surgery or some kind of, it's that, some kind of beauty treatment. She faced years in prison, you understand. This is a big deal. There were huge financial penalties and restitution that was going to be, sought because of all of these stolen funds. Trump's pardon wipes that all out. Devin Archer, a $60 million tribal bond issuance tied to a securities fraud scheme. That's essentially an investment, and they use Native American tribes to as a cloak to give it some legitimacy. Millions and millions of dollars. And securities fraud, these are securities fraud and conspiracy, these are convicted charges that have been associated with Devin Archer, and now he is pardoned. The Binance pardoning as well of Zhao, right? Changpeng Zhao, CZ as he's called, billions of dollars in transactions that should have been blocked under U.S. anti-money laundering laws. They imposed a $4.3 billion criminal and civil penalty on Binance. $4.3 billion. One of the largest penalties in U.S. history. And Zhao personally agreed to hundreds of millions of dollars in penalties and forfeiture. He was found criminally liable. Trump's pardon eliminates Zhao's criminal liability and allows him to begin business again. George Santos, convicted of wire fraud and aggravated identity theft, same deal. Todd and Julie Chrisley, prosecutors saying that they got more than $30 million in fraudulent bank loans using fake financial documents, forged records. I mean, these are total manifest fraudsters. And Trump's pardon eliminates the remainder of any punishment to the Chrisleys, no kind of restitution. They are not victimless crimes. These are fraud cases involving tens of millions and in some cases billions of dollars. And this is all being done while, as I say, Donald Trump grabs $230 million in taxpayer money, claiming that he was wrongfully prosecuted. I mean, this is not about ideology. This is about applying the law equally, and it is just not applied equally under this administration, which is openly corrupt, and the pardons that I just described are paid for. They are bought and paid for. This is power and illegality exercised without restraint. So when you look at the corruption of this administration, and we're not even in through a full year of it, I think you have to look at all of this. And it's a universe that is a lot to choke down. But I think you have to see it all in the different ways in which it manifests itself under this administration. Now, Kim, you wanted to say something? I'm sorry.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
I was enjoying you listening to you.
Huh?
You got a lot of really good things to offer there.
Wow. A
Yeah.
rare compliment from Kim. I love it. I'm very, very...
The Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you for being here. We are a live show, our last show of the year. I wanted to get to something that that was pushed to me by listener, viewer Greg, which he sent me an email. If you want to email us, it's themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
The thing that I wanted to point to was a series of facts about this ballroom, which suggest that it's not a ballroom at all. And I have to say, honestly, that I felt it was built on what was a bunker. So I knew that there might be aspects of this ballroom that weren't associated with, space for a dance floor, but with access for this this world of a bunker, of a secure area. And we've talked about that before. But now what I'm realizing is that the reason it's so expensive and the reason they've made some of their changes at the top, those reasons are associated with the actual nature of what this is, a secure government facility that is going to house AI systems. And the reality was laid bare for me in a terrific piece that I will summarize for you when we come back next week, because it's a little lengthy for me to do right now, and I want to get to the culture blaster. But I want you to know that I'm on board with giving you all of the receipts and all of the details on the real reasons that this entire project in Washington is running to these levels of expenditure, and also the real things that will be happening once this is completed. And as I say, when I say show you the receipts, I'll give you names and moves that are associated with this data center and how this will be a data center and not a ballroom. Now, it may be a ballroom in the sense that it looks that way, but what's being built is something different than that. And by the way, just as an aside, because of that, this should very much be something that even in a closed-door congressional conference should be discussed and approved by lawmakers, and it's not. It's just being greenlit by the chief executive. This is the power grab that I'm talking about. But I'll give you all of that next week, and thanks again to listener Greg. And by the way, I also have some guests being booked around this as well, so you don't have to take just my word for it. There'll be others also. Here's my private donation, says Luis. Luis, it is his birthday today, isn't it? Kim?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here's my private donation. Yeah, we are also funded by private donations.
Big shout out.
We have that in common with the ballroom. Here's my private donation, he says, for the big, beautiful new ballroom on Thompson Terrace. When can I expect the case of Dom for my party tonight, totally unrelated to my donation? Isn't that how it works? LOL. Yeah, exactly. Luis does, I believe, have a statue on Thompson Terrace.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, some of our
In
regular
the metaverse,
donors,
right?
listeners,
Yeah.
and bigger donors do
Yeah.
get statues on Thompson Terrace. Lorraine
Pingle.
Yeah, great name. Looking forward to, again, spending a new year with all of you with a $20 super chat. Big shout out to Lorraine Pingle.
Big shout out.
I'm loving Lorraine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, all of you who have devoted a moment to our show and who have sent along a bit of compensation on this day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Gaffed1 with a $5 super sticker and a big shout out.
Big shout out.
Thank you. And Kim will be on the next Brian T. Cohen and Glenn Kirshner segment about how she tried to steal the show from the host on live air. Exactly. Beam me up too, Scotty. Gets it. The $10 super chat.
Big shout out.
And Glenn will say, friends, what is going on? You, Kim, just having fun. Love you, Kim.
Love you, yeah.
Just having fun.
Yeah.
You know, you did see what she's doing. She's undermining me. Susan Roberts, it's a long con. That's what she's on, the long con.
You gave it to me for a minute. Whatever.
I said, talk to the boys and girls for a second while I clean up this spill. And instead of vamping, which is what any professional would do.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I
Wait,
don't know what the hell they do it for.
Are you calling me
decides to
unprofessional?
roll a segment. She to
Wow.
roll a franchise.
That's crazy.
Look, you have your after party live. Leave this show and these franchises so that we can do them together. Susan Roberts, thank you with a $20 super chat. Wow, that's
big shout out.
Big shout out. Thank you and your team and guests for a great year. So glad to spend time with you as you help us get through these crazy politics. Love you guys. Susan Roberts, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
To all of you this day who have contributed either financially, or you contribute from the standpoint of the chat, or you send us emails, or you ask me about my cat Charlie, or however wherever you are on the spectrum, I say thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you to the Mark Thompson Show and all of the Remarkables for this year of camaraderie, enlightenment, and entertainment. Thank you, Granny Great. Yeah. Very, very cool. Well, I have the Culture Blaster standing by. Feels like I should end the show now, though, Michael. I don't know. It feels there's a sense of, you get it, a sense of camaraderie. The show's had a kind of contour to it today, or there's been a slow kind of ramp up, then down, then up and down.
Follow your heart, Mark.
Well, I love you, and I could never end the show without checking you out. And I know, are you going to do your Fightin' 15?
It's the Fine 15, and in fact, I have a top 10, and the Fine 15 are 15 more movies, and we're not going to talk about all of them.
I thought it was the Fightin' 15. It's actually the Fine 15?
No, although I'm not surprised you have that pugnacious attitude, considering what we're confronted with on a national level here.
Yeah.
We do need to fight, but, not right now.
But this is the Fine 15.
Right.
See.
This is the season of peace, Mark. Come on.
Yeah. All right. I'm, without any further delay, although Kim has delayed a lot today. I mean, it really is.
What?
I don't know. I hate to, it's ugly this last day. I don't know. But, Kim, do you have anything more to say before I bring on Michael?
No, I'm just shaking my head. I just can't believe that you have such a horrible attitude today. Time out.
Wow. Really?
Your Honor, I'd like to ask for a recess.
All right. We will continue. I have the Culture Blaster standing by.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you all for being here. You're probably saying, Mark, how could you have done so much and still have show to go? Because I've run down a lot of the corruption. I've run down a lot of the flawed policy. I've run down a lot of the politics of the age. We told you about the breakup of the Mel Gibson marriage, which we took very hard. We also spoke about George Clooney's new residence in France. We've covered, I guess what I'm trying to say, the full spectrum. You're probably saying, is there anything more? Well, yes, my friends, there is. It has to do with movies and entertainment, and that is done by the Culture Blaster, who comes and goes on a rainbow. Michael Snyder. Welcome, Michael.
Why, thank you, Mark. And I want to wish everybody at the Mark Thompson Show, Mark, Kim, Albert, who I don't know where Albert is right now, but I know Tony's manning the desk, is he not?
Yeah, yes, he's great.
And I obviously want to wish all the Remarkables a Happy New Year.
Oh, that's
This is
very
such
good.
an exciting time of year. And by the way, this coming and going on a rainbow, I just want to say how upset I am, Mark, that apparently you've taken my pot of gold. It really, I come down on the rainbow, I expect a pot of gold. I know you like the pot, I know you like the gold, and I know you just absconded with it, but
Michael Snyder is the way to stick the landing with this show, says remarkable.
I like to hear that. And, I love the Christmas season, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. I have to say, this kind of broke my heart. I was canceled for saying ho, ho, ho on Christmas. Honestly.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you got to be careful with the ho.
I know the proper terminology is sex worker, so save your outrage in the chat for something that actually deserves it, please. And, it's been fun here in Los Angeles. I've had a great time over the holidays. There was a big Boxing Day party at the Cat and Fiddle.
Oh, yeah?
Hosted by music journalist Lindsay Parker.
I saw that on your Instagram. Michael's Instagram is, what's it called, the Instagram?
Mike the Knife 123.
Mike the Knife 123. If you want to kind of enjoy he's always with some starlets or show business cool people, like the kind of people in San Francisco that used to be like south of Market. Now south of Market's where LinkedIn is.
Yeah, right. We don't want any part of that.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's.
But Boxing Day in the UK is a bigger deal than it is here.
Yeah, it's true. It's a Boxing Day it's a British thing.
And because it was Boxing Day, before I went to the party, I went next door and punched my British neighbor in the mouth. I'm just kidding.
That's a play on Boxing Day.
I'm a pacifist minus the fist. Anyone who's interested in my reflections on the year, I wrote my annual State of the Michael address. It's at Facebook, and I do want to mention in passing.
And what's your name on Facebook?
Michael Snyder.
Okay,
I haven't changed it.
right.
I'm still that guy. Okay. But it was a very difficult year, and I know we have to look forward and try to do our very best to bring this country back to sanity. We keep plowing forward. We had some heartbreaking losses. Three friends of mine, Mark Rennie, the great lawyer and real estate guy and political activist, Spencer Coppins, the former manager of the DNA Lounge, and a friend of this show's, Howie Klein, passed away.
Very tough.
And Howie, in particular, was
brilliant.
He was like a brother to me. And
I'm really sorry about that.
And speaking of political activism, the former head of 415 Records, based out of San Francisco, he became the head of Sire Records, and then Reprise at the Warner Brothers megalopolis. Moved into political activism after he retired. He got the platinum parachute right before digital music killed the sales of vinyl and CDs. The guy was clearly prescient.
That's wild.
And he has been working on the side of the Angels for so many years, and it's a terrible loss. And I do want to say how much I loved all three of these guys, and Howie in particular, very close to him most of my life.
Well, I do want to just note, because you brought this up, the greatest loss to this show is Jim Avila. Jim died this year, and it's the greatest loss to this show.
There's always been in this country 30 to 35% idiots.
And that is the only thing that keeps me from weeping when I mention it, because it's so truly profoundly sad that he is no longer with us.
We lost these folks, and we have to plow forward. And
did you bring any reviews? Or you just everything here just to kind of damn it, Michael.
This is all about the world.
Bad already.
We're living in this world. I do want to lighten some spirits, and I do want to talk about movies, TV.
Yeah, some downbeat subtitle movie where I'm going to walk out with a melancholy. What is it? A Holocaust movie today? What do you have?
I have my top 10 films of 2025, and actually you can read about these in detail at thevoicesf.org, where I have posted a column about the year in film.
And by the way, thevoicesf.org, all kidding aside, Michael is a brilliant writer, so you should check out his writing and musings. So go ahead, Michael, please start.
I do want to tell people that we're sort of duty-bound as critics to do these compilations at the end of the year and say what our favorite films are. And we've reviewed them all on the Mark Thompson Show, and I will just briefly mention my top 10 because I think some of them deserve more attention than they're getting on a national level. There are a couple outliers. There's a lot of stuff here in the list where other critics have, joined the chorus and said, oh my God, this is a great film. But I do want to say, in alphabetical order, back at the beginning of 2025, a movie came out called Black Bag. And this is a film that was directed by the great Steven Soderbergh. And it's a very witty and stylish espionage film that harkens back to the movies of the 60s, like The Ipcress File and The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. But it is set now, stylized to look like those old films, and it's set in London, and it stars the fantastic Michael Fassbender, who looks very much like Michael Caine circa 1965 in this thing, and Kate Blanchett as his wife, and they're both in the spy trade, and there is apparently a mole at MI6, and it's up to the Fassbender character to uncover who it is. And one of the coolest things about this movie is cast as an agency supervisor, one of the James Bonds. Pierce Brosnan is in here. If you haven't seen Black Bag, it is so well written, the dialogue crackles, and there is a climactic dinner party that reminded me of an Agatha Christie story.
I can't wait to see this. Why didn't you mention this on the show before?
I did. I went into great depth at the beginning of the year, and you were busy, I don't know, looking at your bank account. I have no idea what you were looking at.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on. Frankenstein, the movie that Guillermo del Toro was born to make. I know he loves this Gothic thing because he did this film called Crimson Peak, which was not great, but it was that sort of goth horror thing. And Frankenstein, based on the novel by Mary Shelley, Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus, is gorgeous to look at. The art direction is absolutely spectacular, and the performances, specifically the twin leads, Oscar Isaac playing Baron Victor Frankenstein, and Jacob Elordi as the monster, his creation, they are so good in this film. Elordi, in particular, is going to get a lot of nominations and has already at critics groups. And Mia Goth is in this thing, and Christoph Waltz. Frankenstein, you can watch it on Netflix.
I love it. I don't understand why you didn't mention it before.
I did at great length.
Okay.
Now let's get into something a little more obscure, and it's a movie that a lot of people have, praised and put on their best of lists for the end of the year, and I'm going to do it too. But it is in a foreign language, Mark, and I know you're going to have to read subtitles, and I know how exhausting that is for you.
There's only English, Michael. I don't know if you've seen it, but under the new constitution that's being drafted by the Trump administration, English is the only thing we're going to allow in this country soon. But anyway,
even sign language, I heard, is going to be restricted. Anyway, this movie is called It Was Just an Accident, and it was made by a brilliant Iranian filmmaker, Jafar Panahi. And this guy shot this film in the repressive environment of Iran without official permission, and it doesn't look too good regarding the government. It's a thriller, and it's really smart. And it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes this year.
Wow!
It's a guy's out driving with his wife and daughter. He hits a dog. It damages the car. He goes to a garage, and one of the guys at the garage recognizes him by his voice as the interrogator who had tormented the guy who recognizes his voice.
Wow!
Who had been a political prisoner. And so he decides he's going to stalk this guy and get revenge. And it's funny at times. It's audacious. Really wonderful movie about the chaos and consequences that people face under totalitarianism.
That sounds super intriguing.
It's great.
I don't know why you haven't mentioned this or reviewed it before.
I have. Moving on, one of two great movies, that's right, three greats, directed by the eclectic Texas-born filmmaker Richard Linklater. Nouvelle Vague just knocked my socks off. This guy also did, this past year, Blue Moon, which is about an evening in the life of the songwriter Lorenz Hart with a tour de force performance by Ethan Hawke, unrecognizable as Lorenz Hart. But Nouvelle Vague is kind of a love letter to the French New Wave movies of the late 50s and early 60s. And it's a film about the making of the crucial Nouvelle Vague, New Wave film Breathless by Jean-Luc Godard. And it looks like it was made in 1961. That's how amazing this film is. And it's done, again, by Richard Linklater. The performances are wonderful, including a guy a French actor who looks like the very unique-looking Jean-Paul Belmondo, the star of Breathless. This guy, Aubrey Dillon, and Gene Seberg, who was the American screen ingenue who played opposite Belmondo, is played by American actress Zoe Deutsch, who is also incredible. I loved this movie.
Wow, Michael, this sounds great. I don't know why you haven't mentioned it before.
One Battle After Another is at the top of many people's best of the year lists. It's the latest by the great director and screenwriter Paul Thomas Anderson, and it's all about rebellion and honor and family and idealism and the poison that politics can dispense on occasion. It's about an ex-revolutionary, a stone guy named Bob, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who is fantastic. And he's like in hiding essentially, and he's watching his teenage daughter Willa, making sure her life gets on track. And meanwhile, there's this crazed colonel who has run various military units that have tried to stop terrorism and revolutionary activity. He's played by Sean Penn in an unbelievably funny and messed up performance that, again, is going to get much attention during Oscar season. Sean Penn is amazing in this thing. Teyana Taylor is great. And it reminded me, even though it's adapted in ways from Thomas Pynchon's novel Vineland, it really reminded me of Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, because you've got Bob as kind of Jean Valjean on the run, and you've got this guy Lockjaw as kind of Inspector Javert coming after him.
Yeah.
It's very good. One battle after another.
I love it. I don't know why I haven't mentioned it prior to this, but all right.
Rental Family. If you ask me, what are your three favorite movies of the year, I immediately would say number one is Rental Family.
Wow.
It is so wonderful, and it's not on a lot of best of lists, but I thought it was great. It stars the wonderful Brendan Fraser as a struggling and kind of off his meds American actor who wants to make a life for himself in Tokyo, Japan, and he's having trouble getting work, although people recognize him from I believe a toothpaste ad he did in Japan. And so that's a little on the embarrassing side. And he decides to sign on with a talent agency that provides clients with actors who play stand-ins for the real people in their lives or the lives of their loved ones. But Fraser's character begins getting attached to these people, which is not a great thing. And it ends up, it's just a beautiful, beautiful film.
Yeah, I remember hearing a lot about this. I don't know why you haven't mentioned it before.
Yeah, right. There you go. It's really wonderful, and it's sweet.
It's your
and
number
sad.
one movie, I'll remind. That's what he says.
Okay, also on many, many best of lists, Sinners, which is
You're the only best of love I care about.
It's the work of Oakland's own Ryan Coogler. We have a large audience in the Bay Area, and Coogler is the man who first made his mark with the indie drama Fruitvale Station.
Oh, yeah,
and
I saw
then
that.
he became better known as he did the Rocky sequel Creed, and Marvel's Black Panther film was his biggest hit at the time. And now I think Sinners is his own possible franchise, and it's a vampire movie set in the Depression-era South. There's a lot of country blues, a lot of heated activity, and a lot of, horror moments as well. And it is capped by the great Michael B. Jordan playing twin brothers who he manages to differentiate in amazing fashion. You know that these are two different guys. And, of course, the technology allows him to play opposite himself.
That's got to be wild.
Also, the brothers' exes are played by Haley Steinfeld and Wunmi Mosaku. They are fantastic. Mosaku is getting a lot of buzz for the awards as well. It is supernatural horror, but it is so soulful, and the music is wonderful. And there's the KKK. They don't like the idea that these guys are opening a juke joint at the edge of town. Black-owned businesses, not a good idea as far as the KKK is. So you got the KKK, you got vampires, you get these guys. I loved it. Suleiman's.
Somebody was asking, is Haley related to Jerry? But Jerry is Seinfeld. Haley is
Steinfeld with a
Steinfeld with a different. Yeah.
She's related to a famous quarterback.
Isn't she Jake Steinfeld's daughter?
No, I have no idea. I know
Bodies by Jake.
I don't believe so.
No, okay.
But she is she is the significant other of that bastard quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. But I won't get into that.
Wow.
The Bills are my enemy as a Niner fan.
Man,
anybody
you really.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
Okay, so Suleiman's story. It felt like a documentary, and it is about an Italian. Excuse me. I love Italian food. I apologize. I'm hungry. An African immigrant in Paris who's trying to stay, and he has to go through a bunch. He has to jump through hoops. He has to talk to. He has an asylum interview. He has to get ID papers. He has 2 days to get his story together to convince a government interviewer that he deserves to remain in France as an immigrant from Guinea. And honestly, it was shattering, and I highly recommend Suleiman's story. I mean, this guy is sleeping in shelters and working illegally as a food delivery guy. You see everything that someone of this nature has to go through, and it's incredibly moving. And again, it felt like a documentary. Amazing performance by Abu Sangare, and I guess we'll have to admit, like the Iranian film, there are subtitles in English.
Right.
Okay, two more.
And by the way, I know you're curious about it. Haley Steinfeld, the niece of Jake Steinfeld, Bodies by Jake. Remember that guy? So that's her uncle.
Did he used to train you? Is that why you're so ripped?
I just wanted to try to set the record straight, Michael.
Okay, fine.
Back to your reviews. Splitsville?
Splitsville, incredibly, the funniest movie of the year, done by the writing and performing team of Michelangelo Covino and Kyle Marvin. They did this movie called The Climb a couple years ago. Splitsville is way better. It's about the competitive to toxic longtime friendship between two guys, and it is funny and it's messed up. And their co-stars, the women who play their wives, talk about a step up. Dakota Johnson and Adria Arjona, who are terrific in this film, very adept at comedy. And speaking of which, it's amazing how good Covino and Marvin are at banter and at slapstick. It is a funny film, Splitsville, and I will wrap up my top 10 with Train Dreams. We've talked about it on the Mark Thompson Show, so don't try to say I haven't mentioned it. It's also available to be seen on Netflix at the moment. It is a quiet and lovely movie about a simple, decent guy in the Pacific Northwest of the early 20th century. Joel Edgerton plays this guy, Robert Grenier, and he works as a lumberjack. He has a wife and a baby daughter who live in their little cozy family cabin, and they await his return from all the jobs he goes on. This is about this guy's life and about what was going on around him, and it's based on a novella. It was written and directed by Clint Bradley. Like I said, it has a kind of a poetry to it, and it's got gorgeous cinematography, and what a lovely, perfectly executed performance by Joel Edgerton as this guy. I found it profoundly moving. Is
that that's your 10?
Yeah, that's my
That's
top 10.
a very impressive list.
Well, there are so many movies that didn't fit on it, and there are a couple I just want to mention specifically. We talked about this on the air. I didn't mention any documentaries, but Orwell, 2 + 2 = 5.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that.
It is a phenomenal documentary, and I really encourage people to seek it out if they can. Regarding the rest of my favorite films of the year, obviously Marty Supreme is... We talked about it on the air last week. No other choice. There was a foreign film called Sirat, which comes from Spain, and it's about a father and his young son looking for the father's daughter, the young son's older sister, who is going to raves in North Africa. And this is a trek through the desert with a bunch of ravers, and it is... Talk about leaving you shattered. This thing ripped me up as I watched it. And it's also filled with great EDM music, electronic dance music pumping at you. And real ravers play these kind of gypsy lovers of the music and the big gatherings. I thought Sirat was unbelievable. And, you know, there are other films like Sorry Baby. I loved Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. I thought Warfare, which is actually up close and personal, in the theater of Middle Eastern war, like nothing you've ever seen.
What's it called?
Warfare. It is incredibly powerful. And there are a couple things like Thunderbolts and Predator Badlands that don't make these best of lists, but were absolutely amazing film experiences. And as a comic book fan, Thunderbolts spoke to me, but it also had a lot of depth about depression, emotional problems, and it had humor and phenomenal performances. And there are many more we could talk about, but I did want to point out my top 10 and a few that I thought could have squeezed onto the top 10 at the expense of other movies. But
let me just review a couple of these.
Sure.
I review your review. It's part of what I do.
Sure.
He mentioned the additional offerings that didn't make the top 10, but because, you only have 10 choices.
Sure.
So these are films like Predator Badlands, Thunderbolts, the Warfare Middle Eastern film that he mentioned, Wake Up Dead Man, Sirat, where the guy's looking for his child through this EDM across the desert sort of sojourn.
Yeah. The Blue Moon, which I mentioned in passing when I talked about Linklater's wonderful Nouvelle Vague, that's something absolutely worth watching.
Marty Supreme, he mentioned. If you've seen it, he spoke lovingly of it when he was here before. I sleep through most of what he said, but apparently he was quite high on that. Orwell, 2 + 2 = 5 is a must-see.
As is, speaking of documentaries, Riefenstahl, which is the movie about Leni Riefenstahl, the propagandist for the Nazis. It is. It's just so good. I mean, oh my God, what a life, and the horrors of the Third Reich on display.
Train Dreams, the Joel Edgerton offering, works as the lumberjack, written and directed by Clint Bradley. Beautiful film, and Michael puts it on his top 10.
I do.
Splitsville, the funniest movie of the year. Competitive Friendship, Dakota Johnson, Arjar Jonah. Yeah.
Those women, beautiful, and they turn out to be pretty damn funny opposite our two anti-heroes.
Splitsville, he really likes. Suleiman's story, which is the immigrant story where you really are brought inside the plight and struggle of someone who's trying to survive in this country while trying to get a foothold in this country.
Right, in the country being France, and unbelievable.
It is a subtitle film.
It is.
Sinners is the Ryan Coogler film, the Depression-era vampire movie with Michael B. Jordan playing two parts. Apparently, it is wonderful. You raved about it the first time when it was first coming out, and you rave about it again.
And it is a bit gory.
Why are you yelling?
It is a bit gory.
Yes. For you fans of gore, you will be happy. Rental Family may be his favorite movie of the year. Brendan Fraser standing in for real people. I just love the premise. And it's in Japan, right? Where
he's set in Tokyo.
An American in Japan.
Yeah, he has decided he's going to make his life there. And we find out in bits and pieces why. And, the Japanese cast, by the way, names you wouldn't necessarily recognize are all uniformly wonderful, too.
One battle after another. Director and screenwriter Paul Thomas Anderson with a winner.
Why are you yelling?
Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Tiana Taylor. This is a great movie. And Michael Snyder puts it on his top 10 list. Nouvelle Vague, the Richard Linklater movie. Blue Moon was directed by Linklater, as was noted earlier.
Yeah.
It is a love letter film about making a movie. Looks like it was made in 1961. It has the authenticity of the time. And it even has sort of the look. Some of the performers actually have the look of the performers that they are, I guess, memorializing.
The filmmakers who were a part of the Cahiers de Cinema, which was the group of movie makers and pundits, some of them are familiar to the eye if you pay any attention to French cinema. I mean, they found actors that look like Jean Cocteau and Truffaut as a young man, and and Jean-Luc Godard, the guy who was the director of the movie that is the central focus of this film. He directed Breathless. Wow. I mean, the aspect ratio, the black and white film grain, they did everything to make it look like of the time.
Wow. Nouvelle Vague. It was just an accident. Foreign language Iranian film. It's a thriller. And it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes.
Why are you yelling?
And so what I think I'm going to do is before even Monday's show, I will have seen It Was Just an Accident. It's streaming, right?
Maybe. Good luck. I have no idea.
Oh, my God.
I saw it months ago. Come on,
Yeah, but
man.
don't you think as a critic you have some responsibility to tell me where I can see it?
Google it.
Okay.
Google it.
It Was Just an Accident is what it's called.
It is, yeah.
Frankenstein is the Guillermo del Toro offering, and Michael says he was born to make it.
Why are you yelling?
Gorgeous to look at and brilliantly performed. Frankenstein is available, I believe, to stream.
On Netflix, as is Train Dreams, and I believe Nouvelle Vague, too.
Black Bag is the film that led off the top 10 list, and of course he does it in alphabetical order, so he's not saying it's the best movie of the year, but he's saying it's in his top 10 favorite films. It's the Soderbergh movie. Fassbender and Blanchett.
Awesome.
Sounds and looks like it's something I'm really going to enjoy. I want to get on this.
You can relish it, I think. It'll be a pleasure for,
It's kind of got a 60s spy thing
right.
Associated with it. Black Bag is what it's called.
Yeah, there are cell phones. It's modern, but it's got the vibe, which I thought was kind of inspired.
I'm very, very excited about all of these films, some of which, I'll be honest with you, Michael, I needed to be reminded of. I have a lot on my mind. And I can't
apparently.
remember every movie that I've got to see.
I understand that, Mark.
And what I'm saying is, when I talk about myself, I'm really talking about the average person who's listening and watching. That's why I mention it.
Right.
I'm, of course, a selfless individual. I'm talking about others who might have also forgotten many of these offerings to which you've referred through the months.
That's why we're jogging their memories, and that's why I also encourage people to go to thevoicesf.org to read the piece on the top 10 films and see the list of 15 more. And again, I'm glad to have mentioned the Orwell film, Thunderbolts, and a couple others that didn't make even the fine 15 because you can only fit so many movies on these lists. I do want to quickly say we've been putting this on hold, and I want to talk about it because we have a Bay Area audience as well as an LA audience and indeed an international audience. And we've mentioned Netflix before, and I'm not trying to kiss up to them because they're about to purchase Warner Brothers and I need access, but they have been doing a sitcom. It's on its second season. It's called A Man on the Inside, which is shot in San Francisco and is set in San Francisco. And it is thoroughly entertaining, and it stars that old smoothie and comedy veteran Ted Danson as a retired academic, kind of lonely and depressed since the death of his wife, until he's hired by a private investigator to go undercover as a tenant at a retirement community to ascertain the whereabouts of a valuable missing necklace. He's come back in the second season where he is attached to a university where there's a stolen laptop, and there he leans on his academic background to portray an adjunct professor. Danson is wonderful. The supporting cast is wonderful. My friend, the wonderful, speaking of wonderful, Jill, I'm just blown away by, and she happens to be the wife of, she's the wife of Tom Kenny, but Jill Talley.
Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob.
But Jill Talley, his wife, portrays the provost at the college, and it's so great to see her get a meaty role opposite Ted Danson and other great supporting players, including like Gary Cole and Max Greenfield. I highly recommend A Man on the Inside. And again, a lot of the scenes are shot in San Francisco. This isn't like Full House, where they shot the thing in Los Angeles on a soundstage and did a couple of exteriors. Much more work is done in the beautiful city that I call my home, despite loving my time in Los Angeles as well.
Well, you've said a lot, Culture Blaster, and I have reviewed as much as I can. And sadly, the sand in the hourglass has passed through. And so we must remind everyone they want to read the Culture Blaster. In some ways, he's best enjoyed in the work that he writes, even more than the work that he shares with the oratory that is a gift that you also have.
How dare you? Or thank you.
Find Michael Snyder at thevoicesf.org. Find him here on typically Fridays, but in this case, he made a special trip.
New Year's Eve, and in fact, you can find me tonight at the Formosa, the legendary Formosa, where I will be spending New Year's Eve at the Constellation Club, dancing and being convivial, and encourage everybody to show up there.
Always have good stuff going. Look for the beret that the Snyder wears all the time, and the Culture Blaster may even deign to speak to you for a moment or two. He's kind of effete.
Oh, please.
But when he gets past his snobbery, he can be charming.
I'm so approachable.
Thank you, Culture Blaster. Bye-bye, Michael.
Bye, guys, and go Niners. You are making me happy, team.
Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
Well, we must wrap up. I hate to do it. But alas, we must. Today's show has featured a look back in many ways. Ren has laid on us at 20. Are you kidding me? Yeah. It's a $20 super chat.
Big shout out.
Thank you to Mark, Kim, Albert, Tony, Michael Snyder, the Davids, John, Mo, Belinda, Jim, and friends. That is everybody, I got to say. Thank you for helping us get through this year. Looking forward to sharing 2026. Happy New Year, all. Cameo and Ren.
That's so nice.
That is really nice and generous as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Really, Ren,
Happy
that's
New
so
Year
great.
to you too. Yeah.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Wow. Happy New Year, Remarkables, says Gone Fishing. Thank you, Kim and Mark, for keeping us real. Mark, I see you now have 141,000 subs. Wow, yeah, I didn't... gaining 1,000 over the last month or two. Keeps growing. Yeah, it's weird. It is. Thank you. It's a weird thing with our... I have to be honest with you. With our ad revenue, because the ad revenue is like down. I don't understand how you get... How all these subs and my ad revenue is so... it's because we're political. Political shows sometimes don't do the ad revenue.
You're being punished, Mark.
Donna Homer, whatever happened to our favorite Englishman? It's been a while since we've heard from him. I know. What is up with Anthony Davis? Well, the reality is that he sent me, we've been in constant communication because we are very good friends. And he sent me a couple of things in the last couple of days, and let's try to get him on from wherever he is. You know, he can be in an exotic port of call. He can be over in Britain, but he's fine, and we will get him on again. Thanks to the Mark Thompson Show and chat friends for guiding us through 2025. Yeah, the chat is its own world, you know. We'll be watching in 2026. And so it goes, my friends, another year. I thank my darling Kim, who is a
Kim, how are you?
Wonderful foil to have on the show. Yeah, you got everybody needs a foil.
I blame you.
Yeah, you got to have that. Otherwise, it gets boring.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Tony. Happy New Year, Mark. Happy New Year,
Tony.
everybody.
Happy New Year to you.
Thanks, Tony.
You know what I like most about Tony? He doesn't say much. I like that.
Thanks, Tony.
Look, it's not easy.
This is no picnic, no summer camp.
It's not. But looking forward to a new year with some good news. In fact, you know, I had a piece of optimistic news. This is the new year. Where is this, Tony?
Sydney, Australia.
Oh, Australia.
Yeah.
For the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
We love our Australian viewers. We love everyone across the globe who agrees to check in with us from time to time. Have a great new year, and we'll see you Monday. Till then, bye-bye.